So we've got a Cub Cadet XT2 Enduro here. Customer says he's had it in a couple times. He keeps getting it back and he goes to start it and all he gets is black smoke out of it. So we're going to show you what's going on, how to get this all taken care of. So it's got the Kohler KT725 on it. It's a 7000 series with the smart choke. Get a little better view of the engine in a minute. I'll show you what it's doing here though. Looks like it fired right up that time. The last time I tried to start it, as soon as I went to start it, it just stayed like it was on choke. So that's what it was doing last time, just kind of staying like it's choking itself out. Won't go anywhere, just stays kind of at that same RPM. And it doesn't matter what we're doing up here, whether we're changing it from fast to slow, it's not changing anything. It's just sitting there and puffing. I'm gonna open that door here in just a second. Oh boy, got some good fumes going. That's all right. I'm definitely used to it. Let's see here. Get us a good view up top. I'm going to take this hood off and we're going to go over this smart choke system, which is definitely not anywhere close to smart, in my opinion. One of the worst systems out there. They just have all kinds of issues with stuff like this. It's not a very old system. It hasn't been out for too terribly long, as far as I remember anyway. I haven't worked on a ton of them, but we're going to take this cover off and get down to exactly everything in the bottom. If you take the filter and the cover off there, there's one straight down through the top. I think some of them have three. Oh, this one does have three. I was gonna say, that's what I remember. They're all the same, so you don't have to worry about which one goes where. Got some different ones around the outside here. One there, there's one at the back, and then there's a couple 10 millimeters that sit at the fuel pump. It definitely pumps a lot of fuel in there. So basically this system, it runs off of a wind vane that sits around the flywheel. It's the number one thing that opens the choke right when you start it up. Now that wind vane is supposed to open it That wind vane's supposed to open it right up to 40% off a choke. Now, as the sound of it, it didn't do that. Okay. Let's go ahead and take this whole cover off. Get a little bit closer to that wind vane. Show you exactly what's going on. You can barely see what's going on that part of it. Actually lower this table down a little bit so I can see exactly what we're doing also. Be just about enough for us. See what's going on. Get down just a little bit so I can see the camera a little bit better. There we go. Looks pretty good at this point. So this is the wind vane here. This moves directly against your flywheel, and it takes the wind from the flywheel as it's going around here, and it moves this out, and that's what opens the choke. Now on here, it doesn't really seem like it's wanting to, there's a lot of play in it. So this whole mechanism is pretty flimsy. You can see it all moving here. There's a spring on the side of it that keeps it to spring back, which is all fine and dandy, but a lot of times build up under the bottom. If you got a mouse nest or anything up over here, up on top, that can cause some issues with the wind vane not working. This here looks fine. I mean, there's nothing in the way to where it's getting caught on anything. Sometimes the spark plug wire will be up in the way, so it'll get, you know, caught here and won't open. Not the case here. I mean, everything is, you know, functionality wise and moving wise working like it should. It just, not really sure. There seems to be quite a bit of play. If I'm sitting here and moving it inside the plastic piece, there's a bunch of play back and forth. So it just sits there and kind of wiggles back and forth, and I wonder if that's what's hanging it up. I'm gonna go ahead and take the part off the front so we can see the carburetor a little bit better, and I can explain this choke a little better to you here. Forgot that bracket wants to come off the side too when we take these off. So there's a couple in the front here, a couple 10mm bolts that sit straight down through the front that hold it on, and then you've also got a 5/16 here to the side that just kind of holds the bracket. Kind of just an extra support for that thermostat that helps with the auto choke. Alright, so got that off. I'm going to go ahead and disconnect down below. There's a tube that'll get us free, so we can take everything up and off at that point. Now the auto choke, it just basically sits in the little lever here along with the choke. So that, it should be starting at choke, and if not, you can adjust it here. Let's see. It's been a while since I've done one of these. Get this completely off. I'm going to go ahead and take the line off at the top. And that's just an EPA tube from the fuel tank there. Should be a slot. I'm not seeing an adjustment on it. Anyway, so that's the thermostat. Basically what it does is it takes voltage that gets sent from the oil pump over on the side whenever it's got pressure. It takes that voltage and it goes ahead and it heats up this thermostat, thermal disc in here, and that's going to slowly open the choke. Now it takes it, when this is fully open, it's supposed to open it 40% by the time the auto choke takes over, and then the auto choke takes it the rest of the way. Now something doesn't seem right about that, because we're opening all the way when our wind vane is coming open. That's opening our choke 100% of the way. So something's not right about this linkage in this assembly here. What I'm going to say on this one is that all that play there, you can just see barely touching it how much play is in the plastic. I'm going to say that that's our issue, that it's this actual wind vane assembly in this case, and that's what's causing us to hang up. Definite problem there. I've seen these go bad, but that's kind of a different symptom than what we have here. When your disc goes bad, it'll usually start up okay, but once you get to running at operation temps, it'll start to bog down and kind of throw a choke a little bit, because it's not going to open up the choke the rest of the way past that 40%. Let's see if I can't put this back on here and kind of show you how this is supposed to work a little bit better anyway. So when this comes, there we go, that's a little better. Well, maybe not. Yeah, something in here is definitely very strange. Nothing just really wants to work together. So that should be all pretty easy to pretty easy to move. Shouldn't really have anything camming up there. And it seems like whenever I try to move my wind vane when this is back on, that I don't really, and I know it's going to sit out a little bit like such, but yeah, I guess that's better. I guess I just didn't have, I wasn't accounting for the space in between here, because we're going to have this back on normally. So if you hold it, you know, where it should be, about that far from it, you can see exactly how it works. See if I can't get a better close up there of what we got. So I'm just kind of holding it a little bit out so we can see what happens. Now as the wind vane opens, as your mower turns on, it's supposed to open at 40%. Now I'd say that's well past 40% that it's opening it there. So something's just very strange about that whole system. It shouldn't open it all the way. It should take it to, you know, right about there, and then the thermal disc from there should open it the rest of the way once it warms up. They say it takes about 2 minutes or so to warm up for this thermal disc to open it, and then this spring on the back side here is supposed to constantly, you know, keep it closed or spring it back. I've seen some people do some different things with adding springs here and such like that, but that's not how the system's supposed to work. It's supposed to use this whole assembly at the back to do this. So in this case, we're going to replace this assembly here, see if that solves our problem, because just with all the play here, I think what's happening is it's just kind of leaning down and it's kind of getting stuck at an angle there and not wanting to wind vane. It's not wanting to use the wind vane to come out. You know, that should really sit up a little bit more level. You can see how it's kind of sitting at an angle if you're looking at the top here, kind of sitting down, and it's hanging down with that play that's in there. I mean, you can move that so much right there back and forth that it's not even funny. Again, diagnosing this, you could also have your thermal disc or thermostat be bad. If it's bad and not open and choking out during normal operation or after everything heats up, that's going to be your problem. The other problem could be that your, I'll show you on the other side here, that the oil pressure switch is bad. Now the majority of these only have 2 wires coming from them, and I'm not 100% sure what the third wire is for in this case. Looks like the green comes up. Probably just a ground wire, but yeah, I'm not really sure where the green goes. Green goes down through into the harness here, into the connector on the other side for some reason. So again, not really sure what it goes for, but one of the reds comes back through as 12 volts. You'll get full voltage, whatever the system is to it. 12 to 14, somewhere in there. But normally you can test these if they've just got 2 wires. It's just a normally open and normally closed. So you could test against the 2 probes back through, and if everything's off, you shouldn't have a connection. If you turn the unit on and there's oil pressure here, that should be sending voltage through, and you should be getting it up to the thermal disc or the thermostat. So that's how you test them. Again, I'm not sure what the third wire here is for. I've never seen one with 3 wires, to be quite honest with you, so not sure what the deal is with that. I've never had to do any troubleshooting on them. Can't be too much different, you know, as the oil sensor is coming on, one of these wires is probably hot all the time as soon as you turn your ignition on, and it's going to send voltage through either to the green or to the red wire as soon as you get some pressure up. So you can test that as soon as the mower is started. You know, if you unplug that, you can test across the probes, either use a test light or a multimeter, voltmeter of some sort, testing ohms resistance or ohms beat back through. So that should give you at least a little bit more information about these things. Again, there's a lot of people doing things to these because this system is not great. There's a lot of fixes for them that I wouldn't say are ideal, and this system is not ideal at all. I would say it's kind of a junk system. Should have never came up with it, but it is what a lot of people have at this point, and there's not a real good fix for any of this. Not a real easy way to take care of, you know, doing any other sort of choke system, so kind of stuck with what we have at this point. So we're going to replace the air vane deflector assembly is what they call this. That's a 3226502-S. Now it comes as a whole assembly with the spring and with this piece here. You just take the one, I think it's a T20, maybe a T25 screw there out, and the whole assembly pops up and out. You connect it to the linkage and off you go. Now there is a service bulletin out about this. Now we do get a bunch of play here in the air vane deflector, as they call it. So we know this is our source of our problem. Now there's a service bulletin on this out there that says, you know, basically this information. You know, there have been reports of hard starting, including the smart choke equipped units, running rich, inability to increase RPM. Some of this they say is caused because the idle speed is set too low, and if you're trying to start it at idle, this happens. Now, this has been happening even at full speed, but they want to make sure that you're not under about 1800 RPM as far as low idle speed, because that could 1750 to 1800 RPM, that could cause this issue to happen. It's just not enough RPM to get everything to work correctly. Not the case in this situation. It also says that if this happens, you want to check for binding and such, like we did, which we are getting out of the air vane. But if that's not the case, if you don't find any binding, you're going to look at your choke link. The replacement choke link, which has a green mark, which is kind of a fix for this problem, that can be obtained by getting a different choke link if yours doesn't have the green mark. The green mark is just a tiny bit shorter, so it changes the relationship of the air vane to your choke. Now, if you need this, if yours isn't green, ours isn't. So if we put this wind vane on here and we're still having some issues, we may want to get this choke link. I'm going to go ahead and order one just in case, but I don't think that's the source of our issues in this case. I think it's just a binding coming from, you know, our wind vane wearing out. Now it does also show you that you want to, if you're going to change your govern idle speed, you're going to just bend this tab that attaches here on your governor. So that's up here on the bottom side. So that's going to be this tab right here. So that's going to change your low idle govern speed. So you'll just bend that tab. Usually to the left, I believe, is going to be lower speed. To the right, is going to be higher speed at your low speed. So that should tell you everything you need to know about this. Hopefully that helps someone out in getting this thing taken care of, as they are kind of a complex system. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe.